So as I was saying, yeah, the design system Slack, I have this QR code. I can also share a link, links later on Twitter or whatever. But it's, I would say, probably one of the most helpful resources I can think of for the design system community. There's channels for like all sorts of different topics, like city-focused channels, meetups, a naming is hard channel, just lots of different topics around design systems. So definitely join us in there. There's even a zeroheight channel in there too, if you're interested. And there is a Mastodon community, social.design systems. Unfortunately, the more people you add, the more you have to pay to keep it running. So it is invite only right now. But I'm hoping over time, I'm slowly letting people in. But I did want to mention it because you can still go there to read what's there. You just can't join it yet. And then if you're still using X, formerly Twitter, there is a design system community there as well. I will say it gets a little messy in there. The moderators have to work pretty hard to keep it on topic. It's not surprising for Twitter. But I do see people, sharing links and resources there too. So you can join us there as well. Just a couple more. I am a co-chair for the Design Tokens community group. We're aiming to help standardize how design tokens should be implemented in tools. And a good number of design tool companies have already started adopting this, so that's fun. And then I've been a long time big fan of SAS. I still use it all the time, pretty much any time I'm styling anything. I am on the core team for that, leading the brand design and website. So enough about all that. Throughout my career, I've worked in design and development. I am drawn to careful craft and attention to details in design. But more importantly, I like improving communication and collaboration in teams. So I found my niche in design systems. I am a design systems advocate. I've been working in design systems for like 2 decades, from my Odin internship in 2004 to companies like Apple, Salesforce, Amazon, Asana. Most recently, I was a manager at Google of the design and developer relations team for material design, and then I got laid off. Womp, womp. So I'm currently looking for work, so let me know if you're hiring, and I can still work in San Francisco. Okay, so I enjoy helping designers, developers, and other product practitioners in working together to create high-quality experiences for their users. Keyword there, quality. I have seen some folks share negative thoughts about quality and striving for quality when it comes to design systems work. And I think this phrasing here is a bit off. Like, how does one achieve quality? Quality isn't a finite thing. If you ask a few people what quality means to them, you're going to get completely different answers from everyone. So is it even worth it? Well, that's why I didn't call this talk Achieving Quality. It's called Pursuing Quality. For me, design quality is a standard of a designed experience. And you can measure that against other designed experiences. It's a degree of excellence of a design, not just in how it looks, but also in how it functions. When I think about design, Luke made the comment earlier about design systems not being just for designers. Like, I don't think of the verb design, I think of the noun design of like a designed experience, like the design of something. So that's kind of where my headspace is for that. So you can find good design in all sorts of things. It could be a really good, well-designed office chair, or something complex like a full operating system. And design quality are what makes these experiences great. So to me, quality design is not a luxury, it's essential. And we should all be striving to pursue quality in our work because it does have an enormous impact on people. People rely on designed experiences every day to make their work or their lives easier and more enjoyable. Depending on what this designed experience is that you're working on, or actively, sorry, I'm a little jet lagged, so bear with me. Depending on what this designed experience is that you're working on, actively working toward quality can impact improve usability, increase user satisfaction, reduce development time, so much more. It's really going to be tailored to whatever it is you're working on. So your list might be different than someone else's list. So another reason I like to say pursuing design quality is that the work is a continuous practice. There are always new challenges to face and new ways to improve the experience. And to me, it's a big part of design systems. And to ignore that makes me wonder why you would be doing design systems in the first place. Maybe you just really, really, really love designing buttons and you're on your 500th button by now. And if that's you, you do you. But for me, as I like to say, design systems are for people, not just the people we work with, but the end user experience. So there are a few ways or a few key things that you can do to make the pursuit of design quality a part of your process. The ultimate thing that you can do to pursue design quality is to create a culture of quality in your organization. And this means that everyone is aware of the importance of design quality and is working to achieve it or pursue it. And one way to do this is to make design quality a part of your product development process. By having design quality be one of your key objectives, you're reminding everyone that it's important. So you'll want to create a document that outlines the specific criteria that you're looking for in the experience. And when I say document, I'm not talking about like a 300-page textbook. It could just be as simple as like 3 to 5 slides, maybe a fun poster on the walls, just something like easy to understand, easy to talk about, easy to remember. You want people bringing things up like in meetings, and if you have a 300-page book, I don't think anyone's going to be bringing that up in a meeting. So you can use that document as a guide for your team and to measure success. Now, if you have design principles or experience principles, you can derive your criteria from those. So for example, at Salesforce, we had 4 design principles that we use to guide our decisions. First one is clarity, and it is a coincidence that my conference is called Clarity. In fact, I named my conference that before we came up with principles, but obviously it was top of mind. Clarity is about eliminating ambiguity, enabling people to see, understand, and act with confidence. Efficiency is about streamlining and optimizing workflows, intelligently anticipate needs to help people work better, smarter, and faster. Consistency is around creating familiarity and strengthening intuition by applying the same solutions to the same problems. And then finally, beauty is around demonstrating respect for people's time and attention through thoughtful and elegant craft. So the way that we used our design principles as a guide for our design decisions was that we had them in a priority order. So if you debated that this particular design direction was going to break consistency, which is one of the principles, but by doing it, it would actually provide better clarity and efficiency for the user, then that direction would win. And so our design principles were an actionable tool. When I was at Asana, I was managing designers focused on design systems, accessibility, visual design, and mobile foundations. And the director I reported to had asked me to come up with a criteria for design quality, like what Asana's design quality is. And you You would often hear the term quality bar. This doesn't meet the quality bar, like in critiques and design reviews. But there was no quality bar to point to and nothing concrete. We didn't have a clear definition of what that even meant. So that's what I set out to do. So Asana had experience principles, and so I started by looking at those. I'm not allowed to share all 5 of them because they are under NDA, but I did get permission from legal to share 2 of them. So the first one is provide value for every offering, deliver high-quality experience at every tier, and a clear understanding of our paid feature set. And then lead with an opinion based on customer insights, have a strong viewpoint. Guiding our customers will make them more successful in the long run. Be the co-pilot for their success. We are opinionated by default, but flexible under the hood. So those were the experience principles that already existed at Asana. That kind of gave me a sense of what was important to Asana and their mission and vision. So I spent some time researching various quality definitions and rubrics that I could find online to try to form a general opinion. And I brainstormed terms and definitions that align to Asana's objectives. And then I ran them by folks. So there are several stakeholders to talk to: PMs, design leaders, engineering partners, user research, data science. And I received a ton of input. And a lot of that input actually conflicted with different opinions and different expectations for the work because everybody's coming from a different perspective. And it was very challenging to parse through all that feedback that I received. Fortunately, Asana actually had a framework that they used, and so that helped me process everything. And they call it do, try, consider. And the way this works is like, if something is like, do this, that means it's mandatory in order for design to move forward. This should actually be used very rarely. It's like only like show-stopping critical stuff. And then there's try, which is, explore this option, or, maybe find alternative options. It's like, just see how it plays out. And then consider, it's like you don't really need to do this, but just think about it. Maybe just respond what you think, but you don't really have any required action. So that was super helpful for me to really understand what was important to various people. So after iterating through tons and tons of feedback, I finally landed on a criteria that the whole organization could align on. And I was given permission to share those with you, which I'm so glad because I wrote them. And so here they are. The first category is inclusive. I can share these later. I don't want to read all the text, but this was really about enabling. So Asana had a mission of enabling the world's teams to work together seamlessly, effortlessly, and counting for the needs of all people. And so I wanted to map that to not just accessibility, but a concept of multifaceted inclusion that covers beyond. Obviously, accessibility is the core important thing, but thinking about other areas such as diversity, localization, even mindfulness and digital well-being in the products, since this is a product people are using for long periods of time during the day as part of their jobs. We just wanted to be respectful of what we were doing. The second category is intuitive, and I think one of the key things I bolded here is as the product gets more powerful, it must become simpler. I think sometimes people think having a powerful product means it's very complex, and that's not necessarily true. So that was something that we wanted to do, and we wanted people to be able to easily achieve their goals. And so we wanted people to be confident with the things that they were doing. The third category is reliable, and one of the phrases we used a lot at Asana was to protect flow, meaning if people are in a flow state, and we're getting in the way of that, then there's like a breakdown there. And so we wanted to still make sure that customers and people using Asana could like perform their tasks very quickly and like get out of the way. They also use the phrase a lot about like reducing the work about work. I'm just gonna say it. I will say my time at Google, I felt like it was nothing but work about work. So it was just really funny seeing the stark contrast between the two. I said it. So this was really around like minimizing errors, trying to predict pitfalls, and offering smooth recovery. Just really about like maintaining that trust. The fourth category is cohesive. You might remember with the Salesforce principles, we had consistency. I actually prefer the term cohesive because it's not really, I don't think it's like as important to be consistent because oftentimes there's a context and, like if you're on an Android versus, some other tool, like if maybe even using Asana and like a completely different product, not all the patterns need to be the same. But you can still have an expected experience, like what people would come to expect and love from Asana. So we wanted to try to achieve unity without over-indexing on uniformity. And the fifth category is delightful. This is really about helping a person using Asana to feel like empowered, motivated, and rewarded. Just feeling really satisfied. And so this is like craft, taste, and excellence, but then also bringing in like those moments of delight and making things feel like celebratory. So I did put these in a priority order. So inclusive, intuitive, reliable, cohesive, and delightful. And this wasn't really like, okay, now we're done. Like, there's obviously going to still be a lot of work to be done to try to meet these criteria, but now we had set our intention, and we had a vocabulary that we could use now in our design reviews, critiques, and other meetings. And I mentioned the experience principles that Asana had. So then I had like taken those and mapped them to the quality criteria. So for example, for the provide value for every offering, like really all the criteria mapped to that. Lead with an opinion, like the inclusive and intuitive mapped more closely to that, the others a little less so, but like by showing these mappings and relationships, it helped people understand like our purpose for this effort. So now with your criteria in place, you can create a design feedback process if you don't already have one. It's really about making sure you're getting feedback and then processing it in a meaningful way, and being able to improve the experience quickly based on that feedback. So perhaps Asana's do, try, consider framework might work for you, or maybe you have something on your own already that works for you. I think the important thing is really just getting everyone speaking the same language and having their expectations met. A thing that I had found helpful and was like a very requested thing was creating quality checklists. And there's so many different ways you could do a checklist. You could do it by phase or deliverable, by each design quality criteria. The whole thing was just a way to kind of help guide people, but it wasn't a substitute for design review, design critique, design thinking. Like, it was just a tool to help during your process. And I think there's like a perception of heavy process when you introduce checklists. You'll get some like backlash. And I think the important thing here is you want to make it feasible for a designer or engineer to do this as like a self-serve way. And so it's less about like, okay, here's like a massive Asana project with 200 tasks that you need to go through and complete. It's really more of like, hey, we know designers are using Figma, so let's just have like some tips and things that designers can remember. Oh yeah, I need to think about color contrast. I need to think about this. I need to think about that. And same thing with like commit checks and like GitHub. Just having it be where people are. And then by establishing design goals and metrics, you can track the progress. So this can help you identify areas where the design quality can be improved. And there's so many ways like to really think about measuring design quality. In fact, I think it's like hard really, even just in talking about design systems, where people talk about measuring success. And there's, the more qualitative side of things, like, increase customer satisfaction with the design of our product. And that's something that you're probably going to derive from surveys and just like talking to people and getting that anecdotal data from them. And then from a more quantitative data standpoint, these could be the more actionable things like, reduce number of accessibility-related issues that were reported in the audit. Things like that where there's like numbers you can track. I do want to note that sometimes these things are going to be a moving target. Like, for example, your accessibility compliance criteria is going to get updated as the accessibility standards evolve. So you want to view this not as like a single target, but it's like just milestones that you hit to just get closer and closer. One of the things that we also looked at was creating a rubric for each of our criteria, and that usually means you would then go through and assess or grade something on a scale of like 1 to 5, and you might have specific like sets of tests in place to help determine that score. And then this is hopefully obvious for everyone, but if not, testing things early and often, whether that's through automated tooling or people-driven testing through UX testing, both are essential. I shouldn't have to tell you all this, but yes, have a design system practice. Design systems are an excellent way to further design quality. You've got your processes, your tools, your artifacts, but I think the important thing here is I'm not saying to you right now, you need to have a design system. I'm saying you need to have a design system practice. I think when you ask someone what they think of when they think of design systems, they're probably going to refer to one of the many, many public design, like super fancy design system websites. They might point to Material, Salesforce Lightning, Carbon, Shopify's Polaris, and more. But I would say there is no design system. And what I really mean by that is I think about design systems as a practice or a methodology versus thinking about it as a thing that you're trying to achieve. I've been thinking a lot about how much time we spend making these beautiful design system websites. I liked looking at them. They're fun to look at the visuals and like get inspiration. But as our design and engineering tools are getting closer together, and like no code and low code tooling, also making building being more open and attainable. And of course, the rise of AI, designing things for you, which seems imminent. It really makes me wonder, like, have we come to a point where we don't need to make a website? I know that might be blasphemy, but I just wonder, like, can our tools surface those suggestions for better accessibility, localization, performance, usability, because our design system is just baked into the tools. I think we're already like seeing some of that happening. We're not 100% there yet, but it's just something I've been thinking a lot about. I am a big fan of design tokens. I feel like I could give a whole talk on just that. But I think the gist of that whole thing is it's about like minimizing friction and confusion and communicating about design through a shared vocabulary. I'm talking about design tokens, but I'm not talking about tools or variables or JSON. I'm talking about communicating. That's how I see tokens. I once heard Peter Michaels Allen refer to design tokens as a Rosetta Stone, and I really love that. I think this is another part of what I mean by creating a culture of design quality. It's about people being able to communicate and collaborate towards the same goal. I realize that I am at a conference held by a design tooling company, so please don't think I'm saying anything towards them. I'm not, I love you guys, but I am really keen to see design tools move away from this concept of bridging gaps by having a developer handoff. And you might be like, wait, isn't bridging the gap a good thing? I see developer handoff as just bridging because it tends to, not always, but it tends to rely on things like pixel dimensions and hex codes delivered as a spec. There's room for error. You can get duplication in code. You can get inconsistencies. But to borrow a phrase from Stu, who I know is here somewhere, closing the gap, I think I got it from you. If not, then I apologize to whoever did say that. I love that, get rid of the gap altogether. And I think this is where you see tools bring these processes and people together. There's no handoff. It's not a relay race. And I am seeing this become a thing with the no-code and low-code movement. I love tools and processes that bake those features in and provide the contextual guidance when you need it, but otherwise just stays out of the way. More of this, please. So, no developer handoff. Let's get designers and developers and other contributors all working together in a culture of design quality. So, creating a culture of quality is essential for producing great experiences. And by establishing a design criteria, having a solid feedback process, using things like checklists in the places where people are already at and comfortable, you can create a system where quality is the norm, and by having more inclusive practices. So, what are some steps that you will take to create a culture of quality in your organization? Thank you.